Everyone. Good morning. Oh, this is wonderful. You're not muted today like Wednesday. It's a little more manageable today. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good. Good morning. I'm good.
Good. Hey, Meg, how are you?
Great. Thanks. Happy Friday.
Oh, gosh. Yes. Happy Friday. TGIF. Yes. It'll even be better when it's about 5 o'clock. So good morning, everyone. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Please use the chat box to just introduce yourself. I believe most everyone here joined us on Wednesday, but we may have one or two new ones here. So we're gonna do a really condensed recap from the main things that we covered Wednesday. And then we have all the team members here today, and so we'll all take turns answering questions about the process. And again, as I shared on Wednesday, we don't know what we don't know. So if we don't have an answer to your question today, we will certainly take it down and get back with you. So let's go ahead and roll really quickly a quick recap from Wednesday. Leslie is controlling it behind the scenes, so if anything goes wrong, it's her fault. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. So just as a quick reminder about eligibility, you must be a tax exempt 501c3 incorporated prior to January 1st, 2020. So you need to have been incorporated prior to the start of the pandemic. You must be physically or principally located in Alachua County. And for this funding, it must be for services provided to City of Gainesville residents. You must be up to date and in good standing, and we will be verifying all of that through your verified hub profiles. So you'll need to make sure, and I think most of you already are on the hub, not sure where you are in the stages of verification, but you will need to be verified on the hub. It's from the hub that we will be pulling your 990s and making sure that you're up to date with all of your state and federal filings. Go ahead, Leslie. As a reminder, the ineligible entities are for-profit businesses for this particular pot of money that we're doing we're managing the grant applications for the city. You cannot be a private foundation, and any applicant with any past due tax liabilities, liens, are currently in bankruptcy. Go ahead. A few other important things to note. Let's see here. There we go. That this grant can only fund expenses incurred between March 3rd, 2021 through December 31st, 2024. It must be for cover COVID-related projects or items, or the clients that you serve have been impacted by COVID-19. No double dipping. Expenses that have been reimbursed through other federal grant relief programs, and that includes CARES Act funding, PPP, are not eligible for this funding. Again, I'll stress it throughout. The allocation of funds are intended to benefit the nonprofit organizations and for services for residents of the city of Gainesville, and only one application per EIN, please. As a reminder, the focus of the funding grant award amounts may be from a minimum of $5,000 to $750,000 a max, but please keep in mind that the evaluation committee will be reviewing the amount requested as it is proportional to your organization's capacity. So please keep that in mind as you are completing the application. Not all funding requests will be fully funded, not all. We kind of anticipate that the amount requested may exceed the amount that is available. So, we'll be taking that into consideration as the evaluation committee goes into evaluation. The award size may be determined on the total request by all applicants. The priority will be for human service organizations serving disproportionately impacted communities, again, for city residents. And you see there's some samples of the focus areas: childcare, education, food security, housing, human and social services, medical services, and that includes mental health, senior services, and any other service related to vulnerable populations here in the city. Let's see, next, as a reminder, the next most important thing is the timeline. It is our goal to have this to the April 21st commission. And yes, for those of you who are participating in the Maze and Give, that is the same day. So if we look a little frazzled by the time we're at the wrap party, you will know why. So Amazing Give In City Commission Day. So I see a few of you laughing. Laugh, it's good fun. The application deadline is 5 p.m. on March 17th. That will give our staff time that if anything, we will take a look at applications for sufficiency. If there is anything missing before it goes to evaluation, we will be in contact with you. However, as I talked about on Wednesday, we have a lot of processes along the way that we will be in constant communication if for some reason there is an issue with your application. But the deadline to submit is 5 p.m. Thursday, March 17th. We will go into the evaluation. Our recommendation is due to the city March 31st. So that gives us enough time and the evaluators enough time to thoroughly spend the amount of time that they need for this. All right, next. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Leslie to talk about the applicant process and answer any questions you may have on that. So Leslie.
Thank you. So we went over this in the workshop, but for those that weren't there, the first thing it's going to be is to set up an account through the foundation's online grant portal, which you can find at our web address listed right there. We'll make sure it's in the chat as well. Once you have your portal, you'll be able to go on and find the application for the APRA funding. You will also see other applications that are open with the Community Foundation, but you want to make sure you select the APRA one. You're welcome to apply if you are eligible for any other Community Foundation grants. But from there, after you establish an account, you will take the eligibility quiz to make sure you're eligible. And those are also available on the website at cfncf.org/ARPA. And once you take the eligibility quiz, you'll want to make sure in that eligibility quiz is that you have a verified profile in the Philanthropy Hub. Once you have, and this is not just having a profile, your profile has to be verified. And then once you're verified and you are eligible, you can move on to submit your application. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing because I want to reshare Philanthropy Hub or the online grants portal to see if anyone has questions. So I think we'll start with the online grants portal. I noticed we about 40 of you created accounts in the last 2 days. So it seems like it went pretty easily for most of you, but in case anyone has any specific questions about that online grants portal, I wanted to briefly pull it up and make sure everyone knows what they're looking at. So if you can see my screen, I want to start with going to our website. So once you're on the Community Foundation's website and you scroll down to the middle, you'll see click here for open grants. So this will be to our online grants portal. If you want details on the ARPA, everything that's in this slide, the recordings of today, all of that will be here on click more details. So if you click for the open grant cycle, you'll end up on this page. And so from here, there's very simple things on how to create an account. If you already have an account, you'll be saved. Once you log in, this is what you will see. And you will see right here, there's 2 applications open, the couple more coming in the next few days, but you want to click here on City of Gainesville ARPA A to Nonprofit Program. So when you click here to apply, it's going to make me log in again, but that's where you actually start the application. And so from here, once you do click apply, you will be able to take that eligibility quiz right off the bat. So I'm going to stop sharing. Are there any questions on that online grants portal?
Leslie, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm trying to create a new account and I'm using my tax ID and it's not accepting it. It's not in the same format.
So, so it could be that someone from your organization has already created an account. So what, and so if that's the case, and I might get back in touch with you because I think I know what might be happening. But one question we have ran into is if you create only one EIN can be created per organization. So if more than one person from your organization wants to work on the same account, you'll have to reach out to the Community Foundation and we'll create that person a sub account. And that way 2 of you can have your own login and you can both work on the same application. And so if you can reach out to us, and Nancy can put our general email in the chat. And so this would be for trying to add an additional person so both of you can work on the same document.
Thank you.
You could share password, but if your own secure information, you can also create your own account, and 2 of you or 3 of you, or if it takes 5 of you, however many, to work on the same application. Thank you, Nancy. Any other questions about the grant portal?
Leslie, there's one question. Well, let me see, that just came in the chat. If we get through to the eligibility quiz, does this mean we are verified?
So
We may need to distinguish between the two.
yes, so there's 2. So the process we're talking about now is just to take the eligibility quiz and to create an account in our grants portal. So when I mean create an account, it is very simple. For those of you that have done it, you're putting your organization's name and creating a password, and putting your EIN number in, very general information. And that will help you create an account for the ARPA funding, but as well as for any community foundation grant in the future, or what might be available now. And so moving forward, this is a new process with the community foundation to apply for our grants, to see what grants are open. And so the project name when you're actually creating the application, Angela, is the name you're calling your project for the funding. So that is separate from your organization's name. And then from there, part of the eligibility quiz is that you have to have a verified profile in the Philanthropy Hub. Whoops, get somebody. Perfect. So you have to have a verified profile. So I'm going to switch over from our grants portal now to talk about the Philanthropy Hub. So one of the questions for eligibility is, do you have a verified profile? So if you mark yes and you do not, and you submit an application, Kristen, who we'll talk in a minute, that will be one of the things that would knock you back out to then go finish your Philanthropy Hub profile. So your Philanthropy Hub profile is a separate thing. This is our community's online database of nonprofits. We have about 156 organizations in the hub. Not all of you are verified. I know many of you are working on re-verification right now. Happy to share. Let me see if we can share the Philanthropy Hub. And it's very, very small there. Now you can see it. See what the Philanthropy Hub looks like. If I search for the Community Foundations page, you can see, click down on this, all the information that we have completed. And since I typed in the word community, we're now just oh, there we are. You can see all of our information that we have completed, and that we have the check mark. So if you have the check mark, it means that you are verified, and you will know if you're verified because you will have been working on this process, because everyone's profiles reset January 15th. So if you have not re-verified since January 15th, you are not verified in the system, and you would have an X right here. If you've already completed information, it is very simple to go in and update your information. You're going to update your board members, any financial information that did not pull over from the IRS, any quick data that has been updated. Many things about your organization won't change. Once you put in your overview and your mission, most of that is not going to change from year to year. If you need to start creating an account because you do not have one, it's free to create a profile. Once you're on the home page at thephilanthropyhub.org, you would just go down here, right here where it says, you need to apply, and click apply, and you will fill out all the information. It does take about a few hours to complete it if you're starting from scratch, which I believe that in looking at this phone call, there might be one person or maybe one organization that doesn't already have a hub profile. But I'm happy to schedule a one-on-one call with you. Typically we join Zoom and we work on your profile together. Once you do press submit, for those that are in there, once you press submit for verification, typical time frame is about 72 hours to get verified. But with this ARPA funding, we know many of you are anxious to get verified. So we have narrowed that down to about 24 hours. So any of you that are currently waiting to get verified will be verified by the end of today. And any new one, we're going to try to get them verified within 24 hours, pending that we don't have to go back and forth about anything you may need to add. And there's about 100 reporting requirements in that. And then in a few minutes, we're going to be talking about what in the hub and why it's so important, and what it definitely has limited the number of questions on the application because of this data that you're inputting into the Philanthropy Hub. So any questions? I see a couple here in the chat. Some that, yes. So if you're doing Amazing Give, it is completely separate account from the Philanthropy Hub. We do use the same back office and dashboard for the Amazing Give, but it is completely separate programs. So if you have questions about that, you can email me separately. Says when we submit our profile, how long does it typically take? I think we answered that. Hopefully we'll get it down to 24 hours. And if anybody's pending right now, it will be approved. I think we have 5 of you waiting right now, and they'll be approved hopefully by the end of today. So will we be accepting questions in writing? I'm not sure what that means. Karen?
Can we email your question?
Oh, if
So
you have questions, yes,
I have a couple, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I have a couple questions that I think are pretty complicated and specific to us. Can we email you with those, or do they all have to be done on the form?
No, you can
Because everybody
email.
doesn't want to listen to my crazy.
If it's about the Philanthropy Hub or getting set up, you can email the Community Foundation. If it's specifically about an ARPA question for the application, you'll email our ARPA email, which will, in a second, we'll get to Kristen, our ARPA coordinator, and those questions would go to her and that ARPA email, which we'll put in the chat.
Thank you.
All right, I'm turning it back over to Barzella if there's no more questions.
I see Addison, you have your hand
Yep.
raised.
Yeah, Leslie, it's more of a timing potentially. I think we're going to submit our profile for verification this morning as we've been working on it all week. But you mentioned that there's an eligibility kind of quiz in the beginning once we start our application. Can we click that we're verified? Like, I guess, can we go forward with the application even though we're not verified currently?
You won't
Does that
be able
make
to press.
sense?
Correct. You wouldn't necessarily be eligible until it was approved. But if you, I mean, as long as when you press submit, you're verified. If you're worried about moving
Right.
on in the process, if you go to the cfncf.org/ARPA page, there's actually a sample application on that page. So if anybody wants to go
Okay.
see the entire length and the full application and what it looks like, you can go to that website and you can actually pull a sample so that way you can see what comes after eligibility.
Okay, so
You want to start prepping.
yeah, I want to start prepping, but I don't want to answer it untruthfully at the
Sure.
moment. So, okay, so I can just see the questions and start doing that without having to go through that eligibility quiz is what you're saying.
Yes.
Perfect.
And I see a few more questions, but some of them are more related to funding and the application. So we might save those questions till we get to Kristen and Barzella. So I'm going to turn it back over.
Thank you, Leslie. Let's see, get back to the PowerPoint really quick. I think I have a few more slides to share, and then we'll turn it to our other speakers as well. Let's see. PowerPoint feels like I do right now. There we go. So as a quick reminder, I want to review the application, a quick high-level overview. As Leslie said, a sample of the application is available on our website on our ARPA page. You can go ahead and take a look at the application there and begin thinking about how you will respond before going into the online portal. However, the evaluators, this will be kind of the overview of what they will be looking for as they go into evaluation. We have implemented aspects of the city's equity toolkit. So the evaluators will be reviewing applications through an equity lens. So please keep that in mind as you are completing your organization. So the evaluators will be looking at the pandemic's impact to your organization around your priorities, goals, operations, staffing, programmatic work. That will be a portion of what they are reviewing. The biggest bulk of what they will be reviewing is the impact of the proposal. Does your proposal demonstrate a critical identified need in the community? Are the proposed services directed at populations that have been disproportionately impacted by the COVID pandemic? Is the disparity clearly defined and supported by data? And for those who are on Wednesday, you will see when you visit our website, there's more details, but for organizations that have annual operating revenues exceeding $1 million, we are requesting that you provide data to support the services you are providing are directed at populations disproportionately impacted. And are the number of individuals who will be directly impacted by this program proportional to the benefit? So these are key things that the evaluators will be looking for in the application. Next. And then the other big portion that they will be taking a look at is the financial review of the organization. So does the proposed budget, is it within the scope of the work offered? Is it appropriate to the work? Again, is the requested amount proportional to the organizational capacity? Does your application demonstrate a funding need? And also we will be looking at they will, not we, they will be looking at sustainability. So does your proposal demonstrate a long-term strategy to support recovery? So that's kind of the high level of what the evaluators will be looking at as they are reviewing your application. So now your application is submitted, now what? So first and foremost, Kristen Young, our ARPA coordinator, will be reviewing for accuracy and eligibility. So and I'm going to turn it over to them to answer questions. And then once she has verified, she's made sure you're verified on the hub, the physical or principal address is determined, then GSG, another city ARPA consultant, will review the proposal to determine whether the submission is, if it has eligible expenses or if technical assistance may be required. And then once that is done, then the evaluation committee will begin their portion. So we'll stop sharing for just a minute. And I'm going to first ask Kristen to come on, unmute, introduce herself, and just talk about what she will be looking for and answer any of your questions. So Kristen.
Yes, good morning. My name is Kristen Young. I will be your contact if you have any questions as you go through the process. As far as what's related to the last slide, when you submit your application, I will be looking at your hub profile, making sure it's verified, looking to make sure you have your board information up to date, and looking at your eligibility with your physical address. And if you need to reach me between these Friday info sessions, email address is arpa@cfncf.org. And I'll be happy to meet by Zoom if you need a one-on-one session, or just answer a simple question through email.
Thank you, Kristen. I would also like to introduce, where's Chris? Chris, are you still here from GSG?
I am.
There you go. Oh, awesome. So Chris, if you could introduce yourself and just kind of give a quick high level of what GSG will be, what role they will be playing in this process.
Sure. I'm with Government Services Group, a consultant hired by the city to advise the city on levels of risk attendant with these various projects that are being funded. I can tell you, we do this work for about 20-25 other clients in the state of Florida, and the city of Gainesville has layers of scrutiny and filters in place regarding this program that I simply don't see elsewhere. So as such, when the proposed project comes to us, I don't anticipate many or any what we would call high-risk projects. Our role is to advise the city as to whether there could be a potential, as they call it, clawback from the feds at the end of the road here when the project is completed and the federal government takes a look at how the money has been spent. Unfortunately, there is no hotline at Treasury to call in and say, is this project eligible? They provided copious amounts of guidance, and it's a quasi-legal enterprise. We do have legal assistance as part of our team, which we use frequently. So the foundation's role in this is to verify your organizations. Our role is to advise the city as to the risk level of the proposed projects, to put it simply.
Thank you, Chris. And Chris will be available if anybody has any questions for Chris, and hopefully you'll be able to join us. I think we have 2 more Fridays of these weekly calls that if anyone has any questions for Chris, please feel free to join on the calls or use the chat box.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, we'll move back I think we have one more slide. So, okay. So I just wanted to make sure we share with you because I don't think we covered much of this on Wednesday, the resources available to you from the foundation. So I know we mentioned, please feel free to reach out using the ARPA email address to schedule one-on-one meetings for application support. If you need help with the hub, Leslie's always available to help you, and she'll schedule one-on-one if anyone needs any help with the hub or setting up your online grant portal, and then Kristen for any of the application support or any questions that you may have. And please keep in mind, for those who are not familiar with the hub or the Philanthropy Hub, the hub is a wonderful opportunity for other funding as well. For those of you who are applying to the Children's Trust, verification is required through the hub there. A lot of our organizations use their hub for their online donation portal. So please take advantage of the hub and other funding opportunities. And the same goes for our online grant portal. We're super excited to be rolling this out this year. And our online grants portal will be the place that you would need to go to apply for any of our other funding cycles throughout the year. So I just wanted to be sure I share with you some of the funding opportunities that are open now or that are coming down the pipe this year. Right now, when you go into the online grant portal, you'll see our Investing in Leaders of Color program is now open and accepting applications. These are small capacity building grants for minority-led, minority-focused organizations for professional development, one-on-one coaching. There's more details online. Our Women's Giving Circle application, I believe that's going to be opening for general grants on March the 1st. So you will see that coming through the online grant portal. We are going to be adding this to the portal, but we do have our loan program for organizations that are receiving reimbursable grants. We do have a small loan program that can help and assist with those reimbursable grants. And then coming this summer and fall, our Children's Fund, we will have a competitive cycle open for our Children's Fund. And then later this fall, we will be making our first round of grants for our Racial Equity Fund. So please be using the online grant portal to keep track of other funding opportunities that are coming from the foundation. So at this point, I think that wraps up all of our slides, that we can open it up for any other questions. And as I said, if we don't know what we don't know, and if you have a question that we don't have an answer to, we can be sure to get back with you individually. So I'll open it up. Any in the
Priscilla,
chat?
there was a question earlier from Brent regarding the application seems to set up for funding for a single program, but what if the organization has more than one? For example, a tutoring program and a food pantry. How should we structure to ask for funds for both or each?
That's a good question, because I know we're trying to encourage one application per organization. Do we want to, let's talk with the committee and we can get back. Let's talk to the committee about how they would like to see that structured. I know we were really trying to push for just one, but it might not be set up the best to do that. So is that Brent that asked?
Brent Henderson.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So let me reach out to the committee, see how they would like to see it as they begin evaluating, and we can get back and we'll send that out in an email and add it to an answer to the page.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Any other questions? Now, come on, y'all peppered me Wednesday. Where's that? Well, if there are no other questions, I don't see any hands raised. Addison.
Hey, I wouldn't let you down.
I know.
This loss of revenue scares me because it seems subjective and it can be viewed in many different ways. How much of a criteria is that going to be for strength of proposal, eligibility? It's such a subjective, complex, layered statement to say loss of revenue, and so I'm just wondering the weight that's going to be put on that, since it was mentioned several times.
Right. So great question. And you will see when you get into that application that worksheet was optional. So I'll be honest with you, I think that's going to be a pretty low priority from our directives from the city. We are looking for impact of proposal, really looking forward. But loss of revenue, has to be a factor in there since the funding period goes back to March 3rd. But I would say there's not going to be a lot of weight on that. Kristen, you have any comments on that? Oh, wait, you're unmute.
I think if once you look at the application, there's a little bit more clarity. It's impact, the financial impact of COVID also extends to the people you're providing services for, not just the organization. So go through the application, and then if you have further questions other than what you've asked today, please email and we will bring it to the board to get clarity for you.
Okay, great. And I guess to that note, or similar note is, the funding says it can go backwards and it can go forward. Is there any guidance on how to write this thing with, do we split up? Are we asking for that? How do you suggest that if we do want to request funding for past expenses, is that reimbursable? Is that, just like we can show a loss and then, to make up for it, that the dating back, I mean, I don't know if I even want to touch the dating back. And then, if more proposals are looking for, or if the city's looking for more proposals that are looking forward, can you give any guidance on how to write or how to submit funding for previous expenses, or that were not reimbursed by other grants or whatever, or just should we look forward with writing this proposal?
So I'm going to turn to also Kristen, Chris, if you have any input on that.
I would just add that the final rule, which is our guidebook, doesn't get into the details of prescribing levels of income loss, that type of thing. Even when it refers to the city itself, they've changed the rules so that the city does not have to go through this very elaborate and complicated calculation to determine how much revenue they did lose. They're allowed to take, as the city of Gainesville is, what we call a standard deduction of $10 million. Their actual revenue loss may have only been $1 million or $2 million, but they're allowed to take up to $10 million. It doesn't prescribe in terms of subrecipients what the revenue loss needs to be. That's up to the city as the recipient to set those guidelines as to what constitutes a revenue loss and to what level. So the city has to, and the foundation has to set the guide rails for determining, what's a relevant and significant revenue loss.
Kristen, do you have
as
any?
far as going backward and going forward, that answer is probably more in your project design. If past financial loss affects future what you're applying for funding for impact, but I think it's on project design. So that's kind of a vague question and not a lot of guidance, but I think it's project by project. But I would definitely look forward. I would definitely look at, I think the committee, again, impact will be the greatest scoring opportunity. So, but that doesn't mean that past is not relevant. That too, if it's impacting current or future operations.
Thank you. Addison, any other questions?
No, that was great. Thank you.
Oh, so sorry.
Yes. Okay. Is that
Hi.
Robin?
Yeah, it is. Good morning, everybody. Yes, I do have a quick question. I was wondering if you yet had any information about what the City Commission had required in connection to these nonprofit grants, that programming that is proposed is announced in multiple languages in order to respond to our limited English proficient community. Do you have any more guidelines on that, or how will that be outlined within people's proposals?
No, we have not gotten any guidance from the city for that.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I had a question from Carol in the chat, but if we receive PPP but not enough, can we apply for the difference, or are we ineligible?
It is my understanding, as long as it is not already, if federal relief money has not already covered an expense. Is that correct, Chris?
I believe so.
That wouldn't make it ineligible. If PPP didn't
Right.
completely cover it, you should be able to include the
Yeah.
difference in your proposal.
If the previous funds did not mitigate the problem, then yes, you're free to use these funds to continue mitigation.
Any other questions? Well, if there are no other questions, you know where to find us, and I will we will let you go. Thank you all for taking time on your Friday morning. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and we will be back here again next week. So please, if you'd like to join us, we'll have the registration link. Is it the same, Leslie?
It's in the chat. Just put it in the chat.
And again, please feel free to reach out to us, and everybody have a great weekend. Take care.